College football is back, baby. Are you ready to talk about college football? Because I'm ready to talk to you. But you didn't come here to listen to the song. Let me turn it off real quick. But that is music to my ears. That's almost like I'm at the stadium. All right, hey, I'm back. College football preview. I promised folks that like my college football post that I would give you a preview show. This is like my third recording of it, but I'm trying to keep it where you can actually digest it. So let's get to it. All right, so what I looked at to try to pick out the teams that I think can compete for a national championship and for the playoffs were four things. I looked at recruiting, quarterbacks, coaching, and schedule. And let's just dive right into recruiting. When you look at recruiting, all right, who's done really well? Who's got the biggest NIL, baby? Who's got the biggest NIL? Turns out that Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State have the biggest NIL, closely followed by Texas, Oregon, and then Ole Miss in that transfer portal. That makes them a really interesting team. But if you're looking at, you just want to pick based off of rosters that have 4- and 5-star talent, and they've loaded it up for the last 4 recruiting cycles, these are the teams that have done best the last 4 years and have 4- and 5-star talent on their roster. All right, let's talk about quarterbacks. Who's got talent and experience? Milroe from Alabama, Beck from Georgia, Ewers from Texas, Dart from Ole Miss. They've been in some big games. They understand what it means when you win. They understand the pain of a loss. And so when you've got the roster and you got a quarterback like that that's got that kind of experience, they could be really good. And then Gabriel that's over at Oregon, Howard that's over at Ohio State. Both are transfers, have played a lot, have really good stats. We're going to find out if their skill translates to those bigger time programs or not. And so that's what we're looking at there. Let's look at coaching. If I had to look at coachings where you're not just the head coach but your assistants, these programs have a ton. The one that might surprise you, would be Arkansas. Arkansas added Bobby Petrino. That guy, love him or hate him, he can really coach offense. Arkansas, he could probably really get them to a situation. My dog really likes him, evidently, but can get you to a situation where you might be able to beat some teams because he's pretty innovative with offense. Tough to beat. The other one is Chip Kelly at Ohio State. Ohio State adding Chip Kelly, that staff, with the talent they have, it's going to be interesting. Sometimes with college football, what it really comes down to is my dog's fight in the background, is schedule. And so who has it hard? Who has it easy? Let's just take a little look. You can kind of see. The Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Texas, and Oklahoma have multiple playoff teams. I mean, half of those schedules for some of those teams are teams that could make the playoffs. And so that's going to be interesting as it plays out. The Big 12 is as soft as it gets. I mean, Kansas State and Utah, you could put Oklahoma State in there. They're gonna walk to 11-1, 12-0 record because there ain't nobody in that conference with Oklahoma and Texas gone. And so Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and Utah that are pretty decent teams. But I mean, they're not going to play anybody till one of them sneaks in the playoffs because you got 12 teams this year, and so that's interesting. So you've seen the factors. Let's look at what I think is going to happen real quick. All right, what you've been waiting for with my high-tech presentation. All right, the second dry erase board. Some people got one dry erase board. I got 2. Some people got digital screens. I don't. All right, so who are the contenders as it stands today? These 6 teams are the teams that I think are probably the best and the ones that could make the playoffs. Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, they've been there. They've got the really tough teams, and they've got the really talented, loaded rosters. Texas and Oregon, they've got great recruiting classes that have been stacked. Texas was there last year. Oregon has been knocking on that door. Dan Lange's a great coach. And then we've talked about Ole Miss with Jackson Dart. He's got a little wiggle. He's got a little shake. He's a good quarterback. Those are the teams. Guess what? This is the thing about dry erase boards. When you forget something, you can write on something that you missed. I forgot about the defended national champions. What kind of analyst am I anyway to forget that? Not a good one. Let's punish ourselves. Run laps. Ready? Josh, go run laps. All right. So Michigan. Oh, and I didn't even spell it right. Oh, man, I've disrespected the Wolverines. Sorry about that. I know the Ohio State fans don't care. The Ohio State fans don't give a doggone poop about Michigan. Poop soup, baby. Poop soup. All right. So of these teams, Florida State and Clemson right out of the gate have a chance. I think Florida State has a chance to take on Georgia Tech today and beat the fire out of them. And then Clemson plays Georgia. How are they going to compete against Georgia? Is it going to be a game like a couple years ago where it was really close? Is Clemson got that kind of team? They got that kind of coach. Dabo's a heck of a coach, but we're going to find out. Notre Dame, they have some tricky games, but no really top 25 teams outside of Florida State and USC. Penn State, they're usually a non-win team that loses to Michigan and Ohio State and good teams all the time. Oklahoma, if they could somehow go against that stacked schedule and maybe stack 9 or 10 wins, they could be a really good contender. But what is it going to take for these teams to get up there? I think let's just start with Florida State because they play today. They need to beat the fire out of Georgia Tech. We need to see Florida State come out after what happened against Georgia in the bowl game. And I understand they were disappointed. They didn't have their full team. I get that. But I'd like to see the team that they do have come out and annihilate Georgia Tech. To kind of demonstrate that the thing that happened against Georgia was just a fluke. It was just them being upset. And so we'll see about that today. Now, let's talk about this team. These are a group of teams around here, Missouri, Utah, K-State, Tennessee, LSU. Which of these teams do I think could really make that jump? If I had to place a bet, I'm not really a betting person, but I would place a bet on Missouri. Missouri is a team that they have, they're physical and they're tough. They have a really good coach, Drinkowitz. I'd like to have a Drinkowitz. The really good coach and a team that I think has some talented quarterback play. They've got really good wide receivers, a really good running back. They're dangerous as heck. They're dangerous as I'll get, And so I think if I was going to look at a team that comes out of nowhere and they're like, it's me, hi, we're the surprise team, it's me, that would definitely be Missouri as it stands today. All right, that's what I think for now. Everybody knows I love Indiana. I got the Georgia stuff on because used to work for Georgia, love Georgia. My wife went to Georgia, big-time Georgia fan. But I went to Indiana, big-time Indiana fan. And what do I think about them? I'm excited about Curt Cignetti, the best football coach in the state of Virginia last year. JMU was the best football program in the state of Virginia last year. And I think that you're going to see Indiana be a lot more physical, a lot more tough. I think that he gets them back to a bowl game. I think they can get 7 wins on that schedule. And then I think for friends that I know, if your team wasn't here today, hey, you better call that coach and say you better win by 1 million this week so that Josh Skillman, the really smart, funny college football analyst on YouTube and on Facebook will mention your team. All right. Have a great week. Have a great Saturday. And thanks for dealing with my dogs in the background. Woof, woof.